Welcome to American Dreams, Keys to Success, with your host, Alan Olson.
Welcome back. We're here today with Robert Sher. He's the founding partner of CEO to CEO. Robert, welcome to today's show.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us something about your background?
Sure. So my background started out as an entrepreneur and CEO. I was one of four that founded a company, and for 23 years, worked hard to build it up, managing employees, growing a business, doing acquisitions, and always been passionate about business and a student of business.
Now, you're founding partner of CEO to CEO, and what exactly does the organization do?
So we're a consulting firm comprised of chief executives, former chief executives that improve the skills of CEOs in middle market companies. That's companies typically between $10 million and $1 billion in revenues. And we help them improve their skills when they're looking at a major change or a shift in their business or their marketplace. Essentially, those are CEOs that have already run something of size. They've built something significant, but when revenues are growing fast or a key competitor jumps up and is threatening you, it takes more skills sometimes. And those CEOs call us in, we sit shoulder to shoulder and help them get their company to the next level.
And how did all this get started of getting into the CEO?
Well, it started back probably in 96. So I'd been running my own firm for 10 or 12 years, and you learn a lot of lessons the hard way when you do that. And I'd had my MBA and my undergraduate in business and so on. But I got into a group that brings CEOs together, and 10 or 12 of us would meet every month, and we'd help each other. And I found I was pretty good at it. I could listen to their issues and their problems and put that together with my experience and deliver value, and I found I really enjoyed it. And so 6-7 years ago, I decided that my path after leaving that company would be to be a consultant.
So what do you see the primary responsibility of a CEO is to an organization?
Primary responsibility is to lead a company forward, to say, where are we now? What's the unique attributes and skills that we have? And how are we going to grow that business, employ more people, grow the organization, deliver more value to our customers?
When I think about leading an organization, oftentimes people who haven't been in the position will ask the question, how do you get other people to follow you?
I think it's by having a clear vision. So really having a bright picture of where you want to go, sharing it with those people so that they can share in that vision, and then helping them do their part to get there. It's not so much about ordering people around and telling them what to do, but about inspiring them and then guiding and coaching them.
Is there a difference between leading a one-person organization to an organization of 50?
Absolutely. In fact, there's differences between leading a small organization, a mid-size, and one of 50,000. And my focus is this middle market because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that lead small organizations, but there's some real tricks to running that mid-size because you're big enough to need structure and plans and big enough to not be able to change as fast as when you were just two people and a dog, but you're not so big that you can't blow it and get wiped out. Those big corporations, they've got so much money, they've got so much momentum. It's a lot safer than when you're running a 50-person or a 500-person organization.
I was in visiting with Meg Whitman recently, and Hewlett-Packard, which she's a CEO of, has an annual budget of $125 billion.
Yes.
And it's something like 320,000 employees.
So you make $100 million mistake, oops, and you move on. But any middle market
putting it in
company,
perspective, too, it's like the size of the company is larger than the whole budget for the state of California.
Right.
And they have to balance it.
Right. And there's massive momentum. And so there's resiliency in an organization of that size that you just don't have in the middle market.
So when the CEOs come together in the CEO to CEO forum, is it a one-on-one?
No. So in that group called the Alliance of Chief Executives, that brings a dozen CEOs together. But what my consultancy does, CEO to CEO, is working typically one-on-one.
Okay.
So it's a CEO that says, I want someone at my side to help me maybe step up my business planning, or maybe to understand whether it's safe to do an acquisition of another company and how exactly to do that and how to make that come out ideally.
Now you're not new to this game. You prior to doing CEO to CEO, you ran your own organization?
Yes.
Why don't you give some background on that?
Well, so it was an organization that was bootstrapped. We didn't have big outside money. There wasn't big budgets. We had to go week by week and work our way through growing an organization. I remember in the early days, there was one time when I said, if in the next 4 months we don't do at least $80,000 in revenue a month, we're toast. And we had to focus all of our energy on getting through and making that work and surviving. And we did. And we thought we were fine. But of course, a year later, there was another challenge in a different recession. It's hard work, but it's terribly rewarding.
Mm-hmm. And it never stops then.
No. And that's one of the things that attracted me to business and why I'm a student of business is that you think you got it all figured out, and then you grow to twice the size. Your key competitor gets bought by your other key competitor, and now you have a key competitor that's twice the size. New game all of a sudden. It's always there's always more to learn.
I'm visiting here today with Robert Scher. He's the founding principal of CEO to CEO. We'll be right back after these messages.
Protecting your family's health and welfare is a sacred trust. At Greenstein Rogoff Olson Company, we know that sound financial planning will protect them now and in the future. We're certified public accountants with tax services for the highly successful. For your business and your family, call GrowCo.
Greenstein Rogoff Olson Company will help you manage your financial affairs so you can focus on what's really important in life.
GrowCo, helping you along the way.
Apple pie, baseball, and now here's All-American Alan Olson.
Welcome back. We're visiting here today with Robert Scher. He's the founding principal of CEO to CEO. And so, Robert, I'd like to talk about job creation in this country. You also have a unique experience. Like Spiel brought this up, that you're also a columnist with Forbes.com.
Yes.
And what do you write on? What are you blogging on there?
So my focus always is around the middle market CEO and helping them to run and build bigger businesses. And that's really important to the jobs market because middle market companies, so companies with revenues between $10 million and $1 billion, account for 41 million jobs in the U.S. That's a third of all jobs. And when you look at that, those middle market companies, they're big enough to be stable. During the terrible 2007 to 2010 years, they actually added 2 million jobs. Those middle market companies that survived added jobs, whereas the big corporations actually reduced jobs by about 4 million. So this is an incredibly important group of companies in the U.S. Small companies, you always hear about small business as a big job creator, but they also lose a lot of jobs. There's tremendous churn in small business. Middle market companies can pay better benefits. There's more longevity. And so it's terribly important. And so my focus in the column that I write and in my consulting work is really about how do we make those middle market companies more resilient? How do we make them grow faster? And more to the point, how do we help them avoid some of the biggest mistakes that can befall middle market companies that can take down 1,000 employees? You realize you lose a middle market company, 1,000 people can get laid off. And so there's a lot at stake.
Do you see a paradigm shift in here from moving from the large companies to mid-market and smaller as we move forward into this increased technology and making systems more efficient?
Well, I think technology plays a role in everything, and certainly it's changing how we do business. But the big difference in running middle market companies is that you have to be agile because you have competitors that are smaller than you. All those well-funded venture-backed Silicon Valley startups, they're competing with middle market companies. So you can't get too stodgy and slow, but you're also competing with those huge corporations that can throw 100 million here and 100 million there, and you have to be able to defend against that. And that means that you have to have processes and efficiencies and structures that allow you to hold up on both sides. And so that's what presents those unique challenges to CEOs.
How does becoming a CEO of a mid-sized company differ from that of a larger corporation?
Well, so the path for a lot of mid-market CEOs is that they start as an entrepreneur or they start as a partner, for example, in a law firm. And before they know it, they've got 200 people or $20 million. And so they often don't have the business background or the skill or the structure to run their business. So that's one of the paths. There's a huge amount of middle market companies that are original founders that aren't hired CEOs. They've grown their business themselves.
I understand you have a book coming up called Deadly Diversions, where you discuss risk factors and middle markets that the middle market CEOs face. Is this out in the market right now?
Not yet.
Okay.
Still doing research around it and still writing it. It's probably 2013. But what it's about in my practice, what I've seen is there's common best practices about focusing and planning your business. And that works really well. It's fundamental. But I've seen so many times that despite the best planning and looking forward, there are some things that can befall a middle market business like a side tackle that just knocks it out of the running. And that the thesis of the book is that you have to really be on the watch for those things and you have to be aware of those things. And I've defined 6 of those specifically that really that middle market businesses are really at risk for.
Okay, how does a person get in contact with you, Robert, with your consulting business or your blog? Where do they find you?
Well, the best way is the old-fashioned way. Just give me a call. My phone number is 925-829-8190. I'm also on Forbes.com. Just type my name into Forbes.com. You'll find me that way as well.
Robert Scheer, founding partner or principal of CEO to CEO. Robert, thank you for joining today's show.
Thank you, Alan.
You're listening to American Dreams with Alan Olson on AM 1220 KDOW.